Rode microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com. Now, here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH Gear artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. It is the weekend and it's time for EVH Gear TV. We are live and I'm joined by George Lopez from Austin, Texas. George, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
It's funny because I just told you I just woke up. You know, I was doing a movie in Louisville, Kentucky, so That was an early morning this morning.
You were mentioning to me you're doing a movie. Can you share with us yet at this point what it is, or?
This is they described it as an urban western about police activity in the community and people who were affected by, you know, some of the shootings that are police involved with civilians.
Okay.
Myself, I play a father who lost a son to that, and then he finds me, Taye Diggs, another great actor, who finds me because his son was also a victim of that, and then we try to take it to City Hall, and it escalates from there. But I won't give away the ending. But it's a very powerful movie, and it's a movie that doesn't really take a side because there's two sides to the story, so we don't want to, you know, convince. We'll let people make up their own mind at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. That's a very emotional thing to, I don't even know how you would prepare for something like that. I'm sure you've done roles before that are very, you know, powering like that, but to lose your child, you know, it's
unimaginable. It's unimaginable to me, even in the movie. I worked 2 days in one scene. I look at my son's picture. It's very emotional. The next one, Taye Diggs comes to me and asks for my help. I'm not sure why he wants my help. And he comes again. I try to get rid of him, and he says to me, "Did you even see the crime scene photos?" And then I'm like, "What crime scene photos?" And he shows me these pictures that are not correct. So then we decide, unbeknownst to really our wives, that we have decided to join up and to kind of bring a sense of justice to both of our cases.
Wow. When will we see this one? Would it be like 2018?
Yeah, I think 2018.
Probably summer.
Maybe summer.
Yeah. Now
it ain't gonna be the feel-good movie of the summer, so it might be a little bit later.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe go see some happy drama or happy chick flick with the better halves, and
if there's another Frozen, go see that one before you see ours.
Okay, and then plan on something right after that one too.
Yeah.
After yours. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure if you can share this or not as well too, but you had told us a while back too that you're doing another animated voiceover as well. Is that still in the works, or you've done it?
Yeah, I think it's that was scheduled for February, and I believe that this is what you're going to see. You know, everything goes in trends, so they say that the gnome, the garden gnome, is going to be the new trend for next. There's already a movie out about gnomes, and then mine I think comes out in February, but 18 will be the year of the gnome.
I love it.
Yeah. Gnome.
Speaking of which, I'm in trouble. I'm in the doghouse right now too because we have a very nice gnome here. It's my better half, Sandra Lee's here, and I'm not sure if you've been following the weather up here because you haven't been up to Canada in a little bit since Windsor, but we got snow here pretty heavy, and I got a gnome out there. It's buried up to his gnome neck, and it's a very special one. So after this show, I'm going to boogie right outside and bring that thing in before I'm out there in the snow.
Yeah.
So, awesome. That's Junior was talking to you about that in Windsor about the gnome movie, so we're looking forward to that. And I know he was sharing some thoughts with you as well too about Planet Earth, Escape from Planet Earth, one of his favorite movies. And you,
yes.
What was your character's name in that movie?
He was what was he?
If he's jumping in, he'll say it. I forget it.
Yeah.
That's okay. I won't put you on the spot, but it was great.
And I voiced over. It's funny because I voiced over. Another actor had done it, and he didn't have the voice that they particularly wanted for the movie. So I wanted to ask me to go in there and redo it, and I think it worked out better with my voice.
That's cool. Now, do you find sometimes when you get some of these roles too for the voiceovers, just strictly for the voiceover roles, that sometimes you go in maybe anticipating, or they're anticipating you're going to be the one for this, yet they think, okay, maybe they'll give you a couple, but you end up with a different role. Does that happen?
Well, I think that the shocking thing is a lot of times, you know, every movie has a different director. Like Beverly Hills Chihuahua 1 was the guy who ended up doing Smurfs. Raj, a director by the name of Raja, and he loved me in the first one, and he and I got along great because I said, hey, you know, I think that we can maybe expand this guy, and then the part got bigger. but then Raja didn't do 2, but he ended up doing Smurfs 1 and 2. So I did 2 Smurfs with Raja after I reluctantly did the first Beverly Hills Chihuahua. And then I did 3 Beverly Hills Chihuahua with 3 different directors. The second one I wasn't that fond of, but Raja, yes, and the third guy was a great guy.
Wicked. I want to thank you, first of all, too, for your hospitality back in Windsor there. So that's the next question I had for you, is to talk about the tour. And
Right.
I didn't realize you're booked until September of next year. Like right until September of next year.
I believe that's true, yeah.
That's crazy.
It's funny because, the question I get, because I'm 56, is, why would I want to continue to do stand-up? And I said, well, first of all, we all love it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if you could fly, why would you not fly because you're 56? You would fly until you couldn't fly anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I tell them. It's a powerful thing. I don't think that stand-up's ever been in a place like this. But maybe 2019, I'll look at it, because 2019 is the year where I would have been doing it for 40 years. And I'd like to see a sunset not getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
Like right now outside in Austin, the sun's coming down, but then I got to leave in an hour, So that's the thing that's tricky, is that you miss a lot of sunsets, you miss a lot of dinners, you miss a lot of stuff performing. And the same thing with bands, like I remember Eddie would tell me that a lot of times he would say before he went on stage, "Where are we again?" And then the guys would say, we're in Oklahoma. Okay, all right, because you don't know. Occasionally a rock star will say the wrong name, and that's literally out of,
you don't know where you are.
You don't see the daytime. You just get on a plane and you go. You spend all day in the hotel. You come out, and there's everything backstage looks the same.
That's right. You're like, thank you, Cleveland. No, we're in Michigan tonight. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. And that's the thing. I mean, you've had a fantastic career. There's nothing to even look back on and say, oh, I wish I could have did this. You've done just about everything everyone could have dreamed of doing. But I mean, that's the thing. I think 2 things that really, really help people with their lives are, one, comedy, and the second is music. And you're heavily rooted into both of them. You love a lot of styles of music. You see a lot of live music and comedy. Obviously, you're not just a comedian yourself, but you're a fan and you're friends with a lot of comedians, famous comedians. I think a lot of us can put a lot of our troubles in our lives aside and get through troubled times with music and with comedy. There's nothing better than, if you're down in the dumps and you watch a great stand-up, especially here, my Sandra Lee here, she watches a lot of stuff on Netflix and a lot of your stuff, a lot of everybody's, and, we'll be belly laughing. And you just feel good. You feel really good.
Yeah, you feel good. And we all start out, nobody really knows who's going to make it. You don't know who is, some of the guys just disappear. There's no really gold watch if you've been doing it a certain amount of time. And so it's a bit of a rough business too, because I think you forget the guys once in a while, that you start thinking about a guy and you go, I wonder what he's doing, and you won't ever see him again.
I know. Sometimes they've passed on. Sometimes they just kind of dropped out of the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to say hi to a few people in the chat here real quick that want to say hi to you as well too, and come back with questions about a little bit about the tour. I'm going to go through this real fast, guys, because we've only got George for about 30 minutes. So we've got Jay's Tacos and Guitars. eBay is here. No, actually, not eBay the company, but eBay. Humbucker Lovers here. Carlo Santin from Canada. My Beautiful Poison Ivy. Olympus Rock Videos. Constance is here. Let me see here. Scroll down a little bit further. We've got Chris Jones jumping in, and Scary Groove is here as well too. BaneRox, that's my boy. You met him, and he says Thurman. I told you he would know Thurman.
Thurman.
There you go.
What am I doing? Thurman.
11-year-old always comes through for you.
Thurman.
Awesome. Very, very good. And that's what his favorite movie. He says. Let me see here. Isaac Garcia is here as well. Randall Fisher is jumping in. Single Coil Lover is here as well too. Let me see here. Brad is jumping in, saying hey all. Brad is one of our Patreon supporters. Randall Fisher, I mentioned him as well too. So we're down to the bottom of the chat. I wanted to ask you, when we got to see you in Windsor, we didn't get to see you perform because a stupid dad, myself, thinking, yeah, I could bring an 11-year-old in to see George Lopez. And you were cool with it. I was cool with it because he's not an 11-year-old. He's an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, and an 11-year-old's body, as you knew. But
your kid is definitely, and you know what, I'll tell you a great story that Eddie told me about Wolfie.
Yeah. That
genetics is an amazing thing. I never knew my father, so my father could have been the lead guitar player of a great band in Mexico that I had no idea. Yeah. But genetics are really, my daughter Mayan just got accepted into the Second City Conservatory in Chicago. And that's what she's wanted to do, I believe, from the time that she was 10. So there's a lot of parallels in my life about her. But one thing that my grandparents didn't do for me, that she never asked me to do for her, is she never asked me, not once, to help her, like to get me a foot in, help me get in there. She did it all on her own.
Nice.
And she got in. I was only there financially, but the bank is always there.
Of
you
course.
Can't do anything without a bank.
No, that's right. And I mean, take the money aside. I mean, money, just because people have money doesn't mean you're going to make it. It helps maybe sometimes a little bit more than the average person, but willpower, determination, once you set your mind on something, that's something I think we can all give advice to kids, is never let anybody ever tell you that you can't do something you want to do.
No, and you never let somebody even maybe kind of extinguish your I want to make sure the right word, your drive.
Mm-hmm.
Because a person can get a long way with a drive of oneself, and then you'll have people. It's like Shakespeare. I'm sure Shakespeare wrote plays where one person wanted to do something, and then other people around him are trying to, they're naysayers, and you say you can't do that, or you won't be able to do this. So she's done quite amazingly well. I'm proud of her for that, because it's easy to ask for help, but if you don't have the talent, no amount of help will help you. But she's an extremely talented person. She's been training from the time she was like 10, and it's starting to pay off for her. So I told her, you can do literally whatever you decide and put your mind to you're going to do it.
I love it. I like to be that little fly in the wall when you're sitting with some of your friends, maybe you haven't run into in a while, and they say, "Oh, George, that's really nice what you've done for her. That's good." And you say, "Nope, she did it on her own.
I didn't do anything for her."
That's right. I'm just here to clap my hands and support.
Yeah, thank you.
That is awesome.
But your son also, with genetics, your son plays guitar. He loves the guitar. He knows so much about the guitars. He knows that he knows songs. He's working on songs. He's always practicing. And Eddie told me one time that when Wolfie was little, he would watch TV. It's probably about a year and a half or 2 years old. And when a commercial would come on that had music, he didn't move. He would just watch and didn't move. So Eddie's like, man, I mean, does he have rhythm? I mean, he's watching these commercials and he's not really like a kid does, goes like that. And then a little bit of time later, that song that was on that said, like, I want chicken tonight. Mm-hmm. I feel like chicken tonight. And He saw him and his head was going like this. And then he goes, yes. All right, great. He's got the beat in him.
That's good. Well, when Eric Jr. got into music, I was actually scared. It's one of those things I did not push it on him. And when he showed signs of music, I was like, okay, this is great. Then I thought, it's not a glorious thing. Just like comedy or acting, right. It's not all glamour. It's not all the glamour that you get to see on the camera and things like that. There's a lot of the things behind the scenes that are, the horror stories, just the sleaze that's out there. And I was like, oh my God, no, please no. But I support him 100%. I'll be there to help make the right choices or help guide him. That's all we can do.
Yeah. You're a good dad if you do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit of restaurant. How is the thing going with the restaurant? Is it, I wrote it down. What's the name of it? The George's
Chingon Kitchen. Yeah.
How's that? Just the one right now?
There's just one. It's in the Seminole Casino. It's one of the biggest casinos out there. One of the biggest ones in the world. I think WinStar in Oklahoma is big, but they do a lot of business. And then Kiss, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley have Rockin' Brews, and they have Rockin' Brews, and Rockin' Brews became a hit. They probably got 25 Rockin' Brews. So when they were taking this, what used to be the bingo room, and they were going to turn it into a casino, a Rockin' Brews casino, they asked me if they could carve out a little bit of the back end for Chingon Kitchen, and I said absolutely. And then it became, I would say, very successful. I'm planning on spending New Year's Eve there as well. So nice. It looks like I'll be there New Year's Eve.
Entertainment there as well?
There'll be music there. Yeah, they wanted me to have music there, and we always have a little bit of live music.
Nice, I like it. Now, how involved do you get in the menu there? Like, do you cook a lot yourself too?
Well, I don't cook a lot myself, but the menu came from really kind of the stuff that my grandmother was making when I was growing up. So her recipes are in there, the way that she makes the rice and the way that she cooked a lot of the stuff. But I'm going to say with no detriment, my grandma's not around. I hate to speak ill, but the stuff is a lot fresher than my grandmother's.
I used to speak highly of my mother's cooking too, and she's passed along as well too. And God bless her soul, but she was very thrifty, and it was, I don't want to go where I'm going to go with that, but some of the soups she would make, it almost looked like an oil spill, but I ate it, and I loved my mom, so it's all good. It's all good. Let's talk a little bit about Eddie over there a little bit. The first thing that kind of caught everyone's attention last year, I think it was last summer, Eddie's over at your place, and we get to see George Lopez rocking on the guitar, busting through the EVH amplifier, and we're like, wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden, Eddie walks in from the corner. So you're air guitaring. Whose idea was that to do that? And I also swear to God, you guys need adult supervision when you guys were together.
I think that, I've given him a set of these great PXG golf clubs that are quite expensive, and I wanted him to play. He hadn't played in a long time. Mm-hmm. I said, Eddie, I think I want you to get upgraded to some better clubs. So I gifted him a pair of these PXGs with a bag that says Eddie Van Halen, and he says, man, I got to do something for you. So he got me the EVH Brain I see back there, and he got me the amp that I see back there. So he came himself, him and his guitar tech Matt, they came down and hooked it up. And then Eddie, I said, well, you got to try it out. He says, George, try it out. And I said, no, why don't you try it out? And then Eddie said, do you mind if we do something? Because, I always hate to ask him about stuff. He goes, hey, do you mind if we do something that we can post online? And I said, yeah, of course. Come on. So I made him play Unchained, where it looked like I was playing Unchained. And then he walked in playing this, I got a guitar like that. That's a stock. I got it as a gift for Christmas last year. Mm-hmm. He had tuned it up. He brought it back. And it's not the same guitar.
Oh, I know. All. Yeah.
I mean, see the way that thing sounded, and that's a basic guitar.
I think a lot of it just has to have the fact that Eddie Van Halen has some DNA left on that guitar, even if he didn't even touch it as far as setting it up.
It was amazing. I said, do you mind if I video your fingers playing Unchained? And then he played You Really Got Me, and then he just kind of maybe a little bit of eruption. Mm-hmm. So I have it on my phone, and occasionally I'll show somebody. I'll say, this is my house. They go, that's your house?
Yeah.
He comes in and he's playing, but he's been great to me. We became very close over the last, I would say, as soon as he got off that last tour, one of the dates was that last date was at the Hollywood Bowl, and I went down there and saw him backstage. I was playing this one guitar he has, like a kind of a brownish guitar, and I said, hey, how many of these did they make? And he goes, just one. That's you're holding the only one that they ever made.
The tour relic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So that's when you kind of hit it off, is at the Hollywood Bowl show.
Yeah, around there we reconnected, because when he's on tour, or he gets to be where he's in the studio, he did a different kind of Truth. Mm-hmm. When they were doing that, he's not around so much. He's not easy to get a hold of, and he's always in the studio. So he even said to me, "Listen, man, I'm going to get in there and get ready to do this album, and you probably won't see me for a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years while I'm doing that."
He really locked himself away.
Yeah, really locked himself away. And then we saw him in Houston, and I took two of the guys I grew up with, and we went into his dressing room, and he's sitting there in flip-flops, and he's warming up with that guitar. He's warming up with the one guitar, the one of one. He works out with.
I love it. I'd like you to share a story with us that what you told me in Windsor was very, very cool. Back when you had the talk show, and Janie comes backstage, and that's when you got one of the Wolfgangs gifted to you. And I thought this was a very, very funny story. I'm going to set it up, and I will never be a comedian, because I kill the punchline before I get to it. But I won't kill the punchline. But you said something along the lines of Janie passed a guitar and said, "Oh, this is hi, I'm Janie. This is from Eddie Van Halen." And do you remember how you told me this story?
Yeah, they called me into the office, and they said into one of these offices. And they said, somebody wants to talk to you. And I said, oh, I went in there and said, oh, hi. She goes, I'm Janie. And I said, she says, Janie Van Halen. And I said, Eddie Van Halen's wife? Yes, Eddie Van Halen is my husband. And I said, well, wait a minute. So you know Eddie Van Halen? And she goes, yes, yeah, he's my husband. I said, well, wait, like you see him all the time? I saw him this morning. And I whenever I'm blown away by somebody that I really, really like, I did it to Cheech's mom in 1979 when she goes, "Yeah, Richard is my son." And I said, "Richard? Oh, well, his birth name is Richard," and then we started calling him Cheech. And I said, "Wow, like you saw him and everything?" She goes, "I gave birth to him. Of course I saw him." So I could not believe that I was getting the Wolfgang, a cream Wolfgang from Van Halen, and then that night at the show, he sent me a video. He's very painfully shy, so he wouldn't come down to the studio, but he did a video for me in the 5150, which is right above his house outside by the driveway. Yeah.
I love that. You also mentioned, we won't say the names or anything too, but you'd mentioned there was a drummer too, same thing, like you said with Cheech, or some famous drummer that you liked, and you were talking to his mom or something like that as well too. I forget who it was, but you're like, yeah, have you seen him today? Yes, that's my son. I spoke to him this morning.
I forget who that was.
Yeah.
But it's all the same. It's all the same. Mia Frampton, even, Peter Frampton's daughter. I said, oh, she comes to my daughter's house. She goes, "Oh, this is Mia Frampton. Wait a minute. So Peter Frampton is your dad?" He goes, "Yeah." You see him all the time? "Yeah, I saw him today."
If you haven't done that so far, you need to work that into your routine. That's hilarious.
Because I can't imagine that. First of all, it's hard to imagine that these people exist, and then when you see how they are and they're great. Like, I'm also friends with Paul Stanley, Gene from Kiss, and I went on the Kiss cruise, and it's pretty amazing. Kiss cruise was amazing because you saw a band that did Led Zeppelin, you saw Derek St. Holmes, you saw Steel Panther, who are like a comedic version of a rock band. They're amazing too. So I love rock the way that if I saw a comedian. When I saw Richard Pryor, and I saw his wife, I did the same thing. I said, "You saw him?" He goes, "Yeah, and you're going to see him too, like in 2 hours. We're expecting you to go down there at 2:00. So, yeah, I think one of the things that was mentioned to me about even when I had the talk show is that I'm as much a fan as I am, in awe of what they do. But I'm still, and a fan is always curious. So curiosity always works well for interviews or trying to get to people to validate that you really are kind of a big fan.
Yeah. Well, just because you're a celebrity and other celebrities out there too doesn't mean you and they don't have heroes.
Yeah, everybody's got heroes.
Yeah, and we need heroes as well too. We need heroes out there. And Kiss, it's really funny that you mentioned Kiss, because on this show, probably 80% of the time 80% of the content is Van Halen. The other 20% or even higher, it might be a little either way, the Kiss comes up all the time. Many of us were Kiss fans first before Van Halen. Ace Frehley, to me, even though he doesn't have the musical vocabulary of Eddie Van Halen, I mean, I'm sure even Eddie would say, yeah, Ace Frehley is a guitar hero in his own right, because what he's done for kids in musicians to just inspire larger than life with a short vocabulary.
I actually took Slash to see Ace at the Viper Room.
Nice.
And I picked Slash up. I don't think he brought a guitar. And we went in there. We didn't need tickets. As soon as they saw Slash is like the king in Los Angeles. So as soon as they saw Slash and me, they were like, "Come on in, guys, no tickets." And then this paramedic he's a fireman kind of paramedic. He's hanging in the hallway just to make sure it doesn't get too crowded in the Viper Room. Was a Viper Room. And he says, "Hey, Slash, remember me?" And Slash is like, "No." He goes, "Remember when you got T-Bone in that Pathfinder up on Sunset?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "I'm the guy that climbed in the Pathfinder and pulled out your leather jacket." And he goes, "Oh, hey, man, thanks."
That is hilarious.
I guess Slash had a leather jacket that he loved that he left in the car. And it wasn't their fault.
Nope.
Some guy was driving and T-boned them in a Pathfinder, and then turned them over and they rolled sideways and they escaped from the sunroof. But then Slash, when he got out, realized, hey, my leather jacket is in there.
So it was important to him. So he was obviously a hero to him now at that point.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Here's a question for you about Eddie, and we won't get into any real specifics about it, but you mentioned how you'd sometimes videotape his hands or take some pictures while he's playing. Has there been any times where he would say to you, "Hey, George, take a look at this new riff I'm working on, maybe for a song," and if you have heard him do that, we won't say what it is, but have you been privy to any things that us fans would be dying to see or hear in the near future?
Well, I know that they were in there working on stuff, and in 5150 he would play me some stuff that he had been working on, and it's all Van Halen. He told me that when they wanted to go to the keyboards in the band, because he did play piano, him and Alex played piano, that it wasn't met with
Open arms.
100% approval from the guys, because they're like, why are we going to become like a synthesizer band? But when you're looking at right now, or you're looking at a lot of the songs that what did Jump,
Not enough,
Jump synthesizer, and you look at that it was an addition to the band, not a subtraction. Not something that made the band lesser. I think it made the band better.
I think so too. Opened up the doors for more radio airplay without selling out. Like some bands that I've liked that are rock bands, they completely change their sound just so they can get on, the average FM dial. But Van Halen didn't do that. They were still the balls to the wall rock band. However, other radio stations were like, we can actually play some Van Halen now, because normally it wouldn't be that format.
Yeah, and it's funny because they came at the time where, MTV was getting into the videos, and if you had a strong video on MTV, it really accelerated the band, accelerated the visibility of the band, and they had the ones some great videos.
So let's talk a little bit of Fanboy, George Lopez Fanboy. You're at 5150 Studios. What are some of the things that you got to see that were just like the epic moments? Seeing Neil Armstrong's walking on the moon boots. What did you see in 5150 that was at that moment to you?
Well, one of the unfortunate things the first time I went in there was that he couldn't remember the code to open the safe that had the original, all the original guitars.
You're kidding.
So he was trying to open it up, and he says, "Oh, I think my guy has the codes." He hadn't opened it up in so long. So, but what he had done between now and then is that he had on a wall at his house put the little guitar there, the Hot for Teacher guitar there, the Women and Children First guitar there, and all of the great guitars, the black and white guitar, the Bumblebee. He didn't even know they called it a Bumblebee. He didn't know that they called the guitar the Frankenstein guitar. I said, "Where's your Frankenstein guitar?" And he said, "What's that?" I said, "The one with all the red and white stripes." He goes, "What do they call it? Frankenstein?" Okay. It's not here. It's in the safe.
Gotcha. Now, did he forget the code, or maybe he didn't know if you're a good enough friend yet?
No, I think
I'm kidding.
Because he tried 20 times. So the guy that doesn't forget the code doesn't try, who doesn't want to get in, tries 20 times.
I love it. I love it. And it sets off the alarm, and I'm sure he's going to have 7 different SWAT teams at the place. I love it. That's a moment for sure that no matter who the person is, celebrity or not, being at 5150, Derek Sherinian was on the show, and he got to play with Eddie for an event at his house one time. And he said Derek has been with every celebrity in the world, and when he was at Eddie's, he was caught up in the moment. It was pretty hard to maintain your composure and just be a dude, right?
Well, when you realize how many guitars that he has, and they're all numbered and locked away and put on there on the grounds that you kind of want to see him. Mm-hmm. But he's meticulous about his guitars, and they were all there. The Women and Children First guitar, you look at it and you say, that is the Women and Children guitar first, and the other one that says 5150 on it, mm-hmm. and to me, they're almost like they're art almost. They're art.
They're beautiful. There's a million guitar players out there. I shouldn't say a million, a smaller number, but there's a lot of guitar players out there that have iconic guitars. Your Claptons, your Jimmy Pages, all kinds. I could go on and on and on. But I think Eddie is one of the guitar players that, let's use an example of Kiss. Kiss can go anywhere in the world with their makeup. You might not know the guy's name is Gene Simmons or Ace Frehley or Tommy Thayer or whoever. But that's that. I think that's that Kiss band. It's instant across all platforms. Eddie's guitars, for the most part, almost every one of those guitars, you can go anywhere in the world and drop those, and you can say I think that's that Van Halen guy or whatever, right? Very, very iconic. And I think you should get the one I was showing you off the air, the 5150 stripe. that's the next one you should get. You will love it. Satin finish on definitely. It. Yeah,
I'm ready for another one. I got the just the basic 5150 with the red stripes and. Mm-hmm. And then I asked him, how did you come up with these idea to put the stripes? And he says, I was bored, man. I was bored in my garage. And I said, they kind of don't look like. So he started to put some tape on it and spray it and then take the tape off and put another piece of tape off. So that design, that's an iconic design that is only one person's design, came from a guy who spent most of his time in his garage. And he was bored with the way the guitar looked, and he decided to put masking tape or paint around it. So that thing is at one of Eddie's guitars is at the Hard Rock in Los Angeles, where it's that guitar. It used to be a Gibson guitar, but now it's his guitar that stands like 70 feet in front of the restaurant.
That's wicked. So it was replaced with Eddie's. That's very cool.
That's
And the fact, too, that he was inventing things that didn't exist. He was one of those guys where, okay, well, it doesn't exist yet. I don't know how to get this, so I'll just make it myself. He'll stick a humbucker in a guitar that didn't have a humbucker. With amplifiers, I mean, he's long into the future, 200 years from now, people are going to look back and look at the legacy of Van Halen and Eddie Van Halen and forget about how much of a wizard he is as a technical player. And a songwriter and everything else, what he's contributed to the manufacturing world for his own brand and for a million other brands. I mean, we as guitar players today, yourself, myself, millions of others would not be playing guitars like we are today had it not been for that guy.
I'm not sure guitar players are as tedious about a sound or as committed to. I mean, he makes his own guitars, wires his own guitars, are committed to creating your own sound, because he did create his own sound. You know, Santana didn't make his own guitar. Paul Reed Smith made a guitar for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now he'll make it sound like him, but Eddie had in the beginning bought a body online, and then bought a neck online, and then went to an electronics store in Pasadena and bought everything he needed to wire the guitar himself. So he did it himself.
I love it. Yeah,
Grassroots.
Yeah, there's so much innovation there, and that man, I mean, it'd be totally different today without it. So very, very thankful for what he's done. I'm gonna jump back to chat real quick. We'll come back with a couple questions, and we'll let you fly. Johnny Womack is here saying, great show already. Scully's Woodshed says, Ola George. Gary Davlin's jumping in. Scott J. Curtis Murata. Mr. Wiggles. Here's a good question. What's your favorite Van Halen song?
My favorite Van Halen song, I believe, is probably Ain't Talking About Love. I like Unchained is one of my favorites.
Mine too.
And Unchained and Mean Streets is great. And I'm the One. And you know, Eruption, running with the Devil, because I told Eddie that the first time I put on the album, and it has the alarm that I turned the record player off, and I looked outside the window.
Cops are coming.
Because I thought that somebody was outside coming in.
Yep.
I never heard a song start like that. But innovators, man, listen, maybe they weren't always the band that got along the best, but when you got on stage, I couldn't tell that there was a rift between any of them at any time that original band was on stage. That's
the thing. They really, really hit it from the fans, and it was all for the fans. Just because there were some internal battles, the fans come first, and they even rated when they were falling apart with the original lineup in '84 on the 84 tour, I should say. You know, no one watching in the seats knew any differently.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Before I go back to the chat, this was something I forgot to say a minute ago, and this is a real test to what you mentioned a moment ago about Eddie chasing tone and eventually, you know, finding it and then reinventing it. Here's something that was shared with me a while back on the show. Chris Cannella, who used to work at EVH, he said Eddie was in the studio one time with his new 5150s, and there was a problem. Eddie discovered a problem, and he gets on the phone, calls Fender, and says, you guys got to come down here right away. Something's really messed up. Get down here right away. They get on a plane, fly over, they go to the studio, and they're rated 5150, and Eddie's like, listen to this, it sounds like crap. And they're looking at each other, like the marketing guy and the artist relations guy and the chief engineer at the time. They're scratching their heads, like, we don't hear anything, Ed. And he's like, listen to it. And so they say, okay, Ed, no problem, we'll take care of you. They took the amp into the other room, out of the control room where they're at, or the floor room, and they hooked up in the other room. And Eddie comes in there and they hooks up to a cabinet. And Eddie says, "What'd you do? It sounds perfect." And they looked at each other again, going, okay, is this a day where we're going to be fired because we're going to say something bad to Eddie or whatever, because we think he might be crazy, right? And he said, what is it? So they got an voltmeter out, and they went back to the control room. They measured the voltage there, and they measured the voltage in this other room where they plugged it in, and there is 1.5 volts of electricity difference. And that difference in that other room, either it was higher or lower, I forget what it was. I'm thinking probably lower maybe, because Eddie likes to starve his amps.
Yeah.
He heard that. So have you ever witnessed anything like that? It's kind of like, what the heck was that with Eddie?
Well, no. The time that I went into 5150, he's like a guy that is a scientist that knows everything, what every knob does. And he went in there and played a little bit for me. You can't believe it. he's got a bag with 1,000 picks. I probably took about 300 of them out of there.
Nice.
And whenever I go over there, I said he always has a pick on him too. Like when we play golf,
Yep.
he carries 3 picks in his pocket.
Uses them for markers.
Yeah, the red picks with the lines.
Yep.
I think I might have given you guys one. And he'll pull them out and he'll use them as ball markers on the golf course. And then when he's done, he knows that I'm going to say, okay, hand them over. Yep. So he'll give me 2 of the 3, and then he'll keep 1, and then I guess go home and pick up the other 2. But he always has a pick on him. I
have a feeling I like to do that too, and I actually go out of the house if I change jeans real quick and I don't have picks in my pocket, I feel like, okay, I'm naked here, and I have a feeling he's like that too. It's probably a comfort zone for him, comfort blanket.
Yeah. He was. It's funny because when he was playing and people thought he was aloof, he goes, I was never aloof. I was never a guy that felt comfortable in a group of people. He's very shy.
Mm-hmm.
He stays home a lot, and he's got a great wife, Janie's a great wife. And, Wolfie's doing his stuff. And he just kind of is a guy that would prefer to be home. It's in some of the early stuff that I read about Van Halen. And, he's just a painfully shy guy. But when we started golfing, it really got him to understand that it's a great way to start your day. And we talk about great stuff. And he really is. I think the thing that bonded us so closely was that we had these clubs. We weren't talking about music. We're just talking about golfing, and it was a great getaway. But I'll tell you, the Dutch-Indonesian combination is very fair skin, very very sensitive to skin, to sun. And I took him last year. We went on an airplane. We got a private jet, and we went to Anthony Anderson's golf tournament, and it was about 110.
Oh boy!
But it was 90 the next day. And it was hot. And I look over at Eddie, and Eddie is Dutch Indonesian. He is like pink, worn out. We were so hot that day. But he hung in there, man. He's a trooper, man. He's not ever going to quit on anything. And I think that's what I like so much about him is his desire. And even if it's something he's not completely comfortable with, he'll hang it all the way through because he's not a quitter.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I could just picture that, pink and sunburned, and George, get me home. Get me in the shade real quick. Here's something as a pro golfer like yourself. See if I have any, or if I make any sense when I say this. A lot of things I apply to in my life, everything I attempt, everything, whether it be a guitar or a job, my work or whatever, I go into it like golf. I play a little golf, and I haven't played in many years, but I find some people can have beginner's luck with it. I had beginner's luck with the game, and I like it like you say too. You just forget about everything. So when I say to someone, okay, they're gonna go achieve something, maybe they're gonna go try to learn a new style on guitar, I say, don't ace it the first time. Look at it like a game of golf. Don't go to a golf game. Your friend invites you out to go play. Don't try to hit par the first time you get out there on a par 3. If you hit 6, if you're 3 over, maybe the next time go for 1 or 2 over.
Right.
In a few months, whatever, maybe you can get power on one of your holes, but don't try that on your first time, because you're going to get frustrated and you're going to quit.
Yeah, he was coming back. He hit some balls good. He hit some great balls, but I'm not even sure why he stayed a member at that club for 30 years, even when he wasn't playing on a regular basis. He stayed a member at that club. So we play a lot at the club. We'll probably play in the next couple of weeks, and having him come out to my show and to watch me work is also a wonderful testament to our friendship, that I got him to come out and watch me perform.
That's nice, and he's there fanboying as well too. I know George Lopez.
Yeah. It's a wonderful relationship. What have we done? We've flown up to Pebble Beach to play a year ago. I'm about to send him a message, see if he wants to go this year.
Nice.
But we're always in contact. We always text each other. We see each other a lot. We usually go to one Laker game a year, so I'm pretty sure that'll be coming up. We sit courtside, and there's always some great pictures of me and him at the Laker game. I love him as a brother. He loves me as a brother, and that is something that I would have never have imagined, being such a huge Van Halen fan from the beginning. And I remember I said, hey, man, I was at that show that you guys did at the Forum, when you guys came back and sold out the Forum. And he goes, I was there too. And, yeah, of course. I was like, of course you were there. But, I was there.
That's right. That's right.
It was one of the greatest rock shows that I'd ever seen. Van Halen 2 had just come out. Disco was going away. And this place, the Forum, which is legendary, celebrated its 50th anniversary. And though Van Halen could not have been better that night, and it was a homecoming for them. Everybody knew they were from Pasadena. The music had come out, and it was the first time they had headlined such a huge venue. And it's something that I'll never forget.
I love it. The fact that the two of you, when you get together, I said this earlier too, and I was kind of kidding, but I'm not kidding when I said you guys need adult supervision. I know the fans love it when they see you together. I almost feel like you pick up the phone, you call Janie and say, Janie, can Eddie come out and play? You know?
Yeah. Janie's been great with us. And, Janie had sent me, messages saying, my thank you for being with my husband, because, he would stay home a lot and you got him out and you got him doing something that he likes. But one of the greatest things that happened is I took him to see the Golden State Warriors a couple years ago, and they're playing right now. So every arena plays right now. The Lakers always do it.
Great.
So as we get there and we're standing up watching the Lakers play, and they're starting to announce the Lakers, they start to play right now, and really kind of very kind of humbly says, "Hey, I wrote that song."
I like that. I love it.
I look at him and I go, "You did write that song." He goes, "Yeah, that's my song. It's playing all through Staples Center."
And then you got some young kid behind that doesn't know it's Eddie Van Halen looking for the long hairs. Like, yeah, this guy says he wrote that song. Do you hear this guy says he wrote that song? Eddie Van Halen wrote that song.
We saw some people and they go, "Hey, George, what's going on?" They didn't see Eddie. And Eddie goes, "I don't think they know me." I said, "Oh, they know you. Well, you might look a little bit different." But I said, "Hey, have you guys ever heard of Van Halen?" "Yeah, this is Eddie Van Halen." And then everything just like swarmed on Eddie.
Stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you become the photographer.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you enough. I mean, we exchanged Christmas gifts, and I always try to find the right thing to give him. And then I have a foundation that he supported. He came to my golf tournament last year, and he's just one of those guys that even the guys that I grew up with, I think, are not as, I would say, open. He's very in touch with his feelings. So I would say that they're not as open as the relationship that Eddie and I have.
I love that. I want to come back and mention something about that in a second, but you mentioned a key word there, foundation. Can you tell us a little bit how we can support, fans can support your foundation and what it is?
It's on Instagram. It's it's George Lopez Foundation, or you can go to www.georgelopezfoundation.org. And what we do is we help kids that have kidney disease and adults that are dealing with kidney disease. We've done work with helping the homeless find a place to live, but also giving them food so that they can live. So we just did a big toy drive at the Sanford Elementary School, and I've done that for 14 years, and I'll continue to do that. But I turned into a person that I never imagined that I would be. When I was growing up, I came from a very selfish family, and they did nothing for anybody else but themselves. But somehow, in the fact that I was doing stand-up and I was seeing people that were in need, that I felt it was a disservice to my career to only care about myself.
Beautiful. I think that's something we can all do in life, and whether we're rich or poor or anywhere in between. If you are a home worker and you want to go volunteer some hours at a community, if you have some time on your hands, or even if you are a full-time worker, career person, go out and volunteer some time at a shelter or a soup kitchen or anything.
It doesn't take a lot to as long, they're humans as well, and a lot of times they're overlooked, and it doesn't take a lot to get to make their day, because they're completely ignored.
Yeah.
So just even saying hello or getting them a cup of coffee or giving them a little bit of change that you have goes a long way.
I mean, we're coming into the Christmas season, holiday season right now as well too, and a lot of us are worrying about our families, taking care of our families for Christmas and our friends and things like that too. But some of these people don't even have a home to rest their heads in at night, and brutal winters and things like that. So it's whatever we can do is phenomenal. I really respect you for doing that as well too. And actually, one of our comments too is from Humbucker Lover. He says, "Tell George, thanks for taking care of the lowrider culture."
Yeah, the lowrider culture is very taken care of, and musically, I'm always around. I went to his house and he was giving me some guitar lessons, but more so, I just wanted him to play Panama. I wanted him to play, show me how to play Ain't Talking About Love. He played Ain't Talking About Love, but that was too much for me. You Really Got Me, and I can see him play Unchained all day.
Oh, I know. And that's funny you mentioned that. I was playing Unchained for you in Windsor, and you're like, Eddie wasn't playing it like that. And I was actually glad that you said that, because I was like, okay, I have to go home and I have to freshen up my chops. So
Yeah, you know, it's funny because you'll see these clothes, right? Like they really never knew what to wear. Like they never knew really what to wear because
Yeah.
they're not clothes guys. Dave was,
Yeah.
but you'll see Eddie wearing these black pants, and they have like the red pants, but they have like stripes that look like heavy
Kind of
heavy
pleats.
stripes. They're very famous pants. So they got raised kind of stripes,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Who made those pants?" Oh, a wardrobe person. He goes, "Those were the heaviest pants that I've ever worn." Like when he wore them on stage and they got sweat in them, that he was walking around with like
Yeah.
a lead vest, pants made out of like an X-ray vest. He said they were the heaviest pants they'd ever worn.
Yep. He didn't have the best fashion sense, but it wasn't his fault because he was wearing what people said this is what you have to wear. And I know the ones you're referring to. Some people may be thinking you're talking about the regular stripes, not the stripes. They were like those heavy, all went out to a bell bottom kind of shape. And
Yep.
you see a lot of the shots when he's playing the Bumblebee back in the day,
Right.
on his back, on his hip, whatever. And there's probably a lot of times where he got down in that position and he couldn't get back up because he is full of sweat and he's got 15 pounds of pants.
Yeah.
That's
I think when you're a rock star, I think when you're a rock star, the hardest thing to do is to find something that fits you.
I know.
You know, I think Michael Anthony wore like a one piece, like a flight jumper suit, and Eddie dabbled in kind of like some knickers, and he dabbled in the red socks almost all the way up to the knee,
Yeah.
and dabbled in. There was some black pants. I'm not sure what would have been the right fit for him. It's not jeans. Now he performs in jeans and a t-shirt, which looks good too.
It
But
suits him.
back in the day, he tried a bunch of different clothes.
I remember when Noel Monk was managing him back and reading from his book, they're suggesting, okay, we got to get some platform shoes for you guys. Or Dave saying that, whatever. And the first time they do it, like Eddie almost broke his ankles, and not comfortable and something like that. So that was a failed attempt. I mean, it might work cool for Dave, but when you're Eddie Van Halen, high heels is not exactly the, Kiss boots are not exactly the thing for you.
You know what they told me that they said that they had to learn how to tape their ankles, and then I think Eddie or one of the guys said, well, why don't we have the trainer of the Lakers show us how to tape our ankles? So I think it was Gary Vitti, who we just retired a couple of years ago, and Gary Vitti went and taped their ankles, and then we said, well, why don't you teach one of our guys how to tape our ankles? And they did, and then every day before the show, they would tape their ankles.
That was probably Ed Anderson, probably their chief of security and a main guy, whatever. Yeah, because you see him taping up the guys a lot. I was actually just explaining that to Junior the other day, and he said, "Oh, Eric says he must have hurt his hand, whatever." I said, "No, they do that." So when they run in, he saw the
not turning your ankles. Yeah,
exactly. Jump last over to the chat. Last few questions here. Last people in the chat. Then we're gonna let you fly. So Scully's Woodshed says, "Hola George." Gary Dalvin, good evening. Scott J says, "Hey." Mr. Wiggles is we mentioned that already. Favorite Van Halen song. Carlo Santin, Mike Barron. Richard Henry's here. BaneRox, of course. He's going to come say hi to you real quick as we go off the air as well, too. Chris Jones, top of the evening to you. Richard Henry, Guitar Wayno is here. Greetings. Jay's Tacos and Guitars. Mike Francis, hey, Eric, sorry I was late to the party. No problem. Let's scroll back a little bit. I scroll too fast. I'll try to get through this as well. John Ritchie, Cold Gin 5150. Let me see here. What did I say? Poison Ivy, Cold Gin. We got him. Sorry for the scrolling here. Justin Girardi is here as well too. Let me see here. Mr. Wiggles, Scully's Widget, Mike Francis, Blimpus Rock Videos is here as well too. Don Shepard, lots of people joining in, having fun. Dave Finn, he said he saw the hard rock guitar when he was in California, 2003. Very, very cool. Let me see here. Steve Anderson is here. Good to have you. Sean Zimmerman, hope you're doing well, Sean. Ron Henry, sorry. Asked George if he ever met David Lee Roth. Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Of course, come on, yeah. I met Dave. I met Dave when Dave was playing with the Atomic Punks. I met him at Universal, and he was great to me. I went backstage. I stayed a lot. I stayed way too long in his dressing room, and he introduced me to his mom. His mom was a big fan of mine, and we ended up drinking a little Dom Perignon. But Dave is Dave, man. Dave's, he's a just his attitude. He's got that voice, and his attitude is very quick. And I enjoyed meeting Dave. I met Michael with Sammy Hagar at Cabo Wabo a couple years after their birthday. Mm-hmm. He was amazing. Alex again is a very great guy, cool dude. So hopefully, knowing Sammy and knowing all the guys now that have been in the band, that I always try to convince Eddie that there's not one more big world tour left out there.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I think
I
they've got
can't wait for the Rolling Stone article that says the man who put Van Halen back together again.
That's right. Hey, I think we'll be happy with that. I think honestly, you have a lot more to do with it than a lot of people give you credit for, because you did get Eddie out of his shell, out of that house. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to joke about that earlier. I think Janie might actually pick up the phone and say, okay, now you've created a monster. Now I can't keep him in the house. But you know what? Because of that, you're getting him out on the golf courses. Now we're seeing him out there racing his brother on the, the racetrack and
Right.
firing range out there and stuff like that. I think us as fans are just really happy to see that man out there smiling in the sunshine. And he's in a good place right now as far as what we see.
What I love about the Van Halen family is that Jan, his father, was such an accomplished clarinet player. He played the piano, and then he took him on the cruise back to America. But they loved their dad and they loved their mom, and the mom and dad were around in 81 when they played the Forum, and they got to see a lot of their success. And they're very, very close to. There's a picture of his father at his house with the clarinet, and his father's clarinet is there. And
Wow.
Eddie's house is almost a bit of a museum. He's got a piano in the middle of the floor, and then this one wall with every guitar that you can imagine. The Hot for Teacher guitar. He goes, "That's my Hot for Teacher guitar, and that's this guitar, and that's the little guitar." And you see them all, and it's impressive, man. That guy, and it's not the bulk of his house. It's just a room that he creates in.
Yeah, very humble. Here's something too. I want to get your take on this. A lot of us in the Van Halen fan world out here, fandom, we I think we're very thankful for Wolfgang and what he's done for the band. Like first and foremost, I thank Janie a lot, for what she's done. A very good partner for Eddie, and it's put him in the right direction. And Wolfgang, I think, has so much to do with where the band is today. I know he picked a lot of the material. What are your thoughts on him as a nucleus in that band?
Well, Wolfie split out. He's trying to do his own music, which is great. And genetically, Eddie's so proud of Wolfie, and I'm sure, Valerie, his mom, is. But Wolfie has turned himself into an accomplished bass player and a creator like his father. He goes up and uses 5150 to go up and record some of his stuff. But there's great pictures of Wolfie and Eddie in that room. And like I said, genetically, when you're born in Van Halen, there's no question that you're going to be a virtuoso of whatever instrument that you pick.
That's right. It's there. It has to wait till you see the signs. And as you were mentioning earlier, a young age, it popped out, and look where he's at today. I think he's going to be one of the next heroes. And not just guitar. I mean, he's amazing on drums, amazing on bass. Yeah.
When I went to go see the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight at Eddie's house. Just Eddie and I were there, and I walk in there, and Cody, the dog, is on the couch, and there's a guitar leaned up against the couch, and I said, "Oh, what were you doing?" And he goes, "Noodling," and I said, "Oh, all right. You're sitting here noodling at the guitar, watching TV, which is what I do." But I think one of my most prized possessions is he gave me a Stealth for my birthday, a black Stealth and one that he uses. So he would say when I went to see him play that Stealth, it had Stealth 2 on it, and I said, "Well, how many are there?" He goes, "There's 4." He goes, "There's Stealth 1, and there's Stealth 2. Then the backup is 3, and then you have the 4th."
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That was something that, knowing Ed and knowing, like, Eddie didn't really want his guitars out there for a long time. He didn't want anybody to know how he played. He didn't want everybody to know what he played. But then he changed his mind. I think he changed his mind, which is another nice turning point for Eddie, that he would, because the Wolfgang and the Eddie Van Halen gear has come a long, long way, and the brain that you have back there and the stack amp are incredible, and you can get the same Eddie Van Halen sound out of the brain and the amp, which he did. And I look for it every once in a while when I go home. I plug it in, and I'm just looking for some semblance of of a little bit of sound that Eddie might have.
I think you might get a bit. I've been very, very happy a couple times you tagged me in that exact same stealth. I like that. I like seeing that one. And I didn't know that was actually number 4. So that's very, very cool. And the fact that he gave it to you, he know you're a friend. It's not like he's just going to put it out there and put it on eBay and then, the general public can see what's in that thing. Because sometimes there's his special little things. And, it's nice that you actually have that. And it's right from his personal possession. And that's got some mojo in it, no matter how you look at it.
And we went to a Laker game, and then he said, I got the guitar. Do you want it now or do you want it after? I said, no, I'll get it when we come back. So he shows it to me. It's unbelievable. I got the hooks in it. I got the Van Halen strap on it. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you need to play it. So I have a video of him strumming it, because I said, if you don't play it, then it's just, it's still good, your guitar, but I want to see you play it. So he strummed it. He tuned it up a little bit and played a little bit.
You got to send me that after.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's
fantastic.
Awesome,
we'll finish up over in the chat here. That's great. And actually, one of the comments was who was saying, Guitar Bueno says, thank you very much, George, for the great stories about Eddie. And I know the Van Halen fans are going to be very grateful to you for this. So, and myself, thank you very much. The Laws here saying, awesome. My dad loves you, George. Coming from a Hispanic family, I grew up on you. Very nice.
Nice.
Jay Palmer says, howdy everybody from Brighton, UK, guys. Didn't realize the show was earlier today. Eric, congrats on the 4,000 followers or subscribers. Thank you. I appreciate that. Scully's Woodshed for a few years. Eddie dressed like a clown. He did, and he probably would say the same thing too. He did, But
the red and white striped socks with the white little kind of jumper was a trip. But when you're that good,
you can do it.
Your clothes are secondary to the sound.
That's right.
Yeah.
If I did that and walked down the street, I'd be arrested and I'd be looking for bail money from somebody. But Eddie can get away with it.
And he could play in a t-shirt. And not a lot of guys can play in a t-shirt.
Nope. That's right. Let's see if I've missed anyone else. I'm going to go backwards a little bit here. That's easier to go backwards and forwards. Cloreen Baconskin's jumping in saying hi. Jay Palmer says hi, Poison Ivy. David Ennis is here. Let me see here. Guitar Bueno. One more tour. Yes, one more tour. Here's something. I'm not going to ask you for privileged information. I kind of am, but I'm not. I want to get that disclaimer out there. Do you think Van Halen fans, if we hang in there, do you think there's some good news for us in the future? And you can make it as general as possible that you know of.
I'm going to say that if Van Halen fans hang in there, including myself,
mm-hmm.
that there is a possibility of something good happening in the future.
That's all we need to know, and I'm not going to dive any deeper than that. And I think that's very, very good. And
but they love their fans. Alex and Eddie are still as tight as two brothers can be. And having Wolfie there, Wolfie working on his own music. So without saying anything too much myself, because I know how private he is, but I will say that he loves his fans. He's a passionate dude. He's got the biggest heart. He might not be the warmest fellow when you meet, but he is a loyal guy to all of his friends. And that's what shocks me the most about my relationship with Eddie is our messages are always ones of respect and of love. And I check in on him on time to time. He checks in on me, and it's always great to see him.
That's good. Really good friends. And it's good to have, even if you had narrow it down to 1, 2, 3 friends in your life, even one friend, one good friend is better than 100 fake friends. And I'm sure throughout your career, you've had people that want to just be in your circle, just to be with George Lopez, right? But there's other people that they might not even know who you are. If you're nice to them, if you're nice to them, I don't know you're famous, right?
I had a party at my house, and I told my friends, hey, leave him alone. He's in there. He was watching football. Him and Janie, they're watching football all day. They're watching football in the room. And then eventually, a couple of my friends sneak in there, and they're watching football. And then they were leaving, and Eddie said to them, hey, man, don't leave before we take that picture. And that meant everything to those guys.
Oh, wow.
Like that gesture of him saying, you guys don't leave until we take our picture was something that you would not expect.
No.
Forget about one of the best guitarists in the world to say, but not a lot of people say that in general.
No,
because they're just like, oh, if he's leaving, I guess the picture didn't mean that much to him. But he reminded them, don't leave until we take this picture.
Beautiful, beautiful statement for sure. I love it. Justin Grardy says, I wonder if George told Eddie about your show. I think you had said something along the line. This goes back about a year ago. You said something along the lines, hey, they got a show about your gear or something. You said something like that. And
then the last time I saw him, I said, hey, I met the guy that does the Eddie Van Halen Gear show, and he said, yeah. And I said, listen, it's all about you. Nothing is salacious. Nothing about other than the music. And I said, it wouldn't be a bad thing if you went on there one day. I think that, the fans would love it. And it's not something you're not going to be blindsided by a question of anything that's inappropriate. It's all going to be about the music.
Yep.
And don't be surprised if I wouldn't be able to get them to come on one day.
That'd be awesome. And that's the thing. You know what? There's bad news out there about everybody. You can find bad news about you online. You can find bad news about me online. Eddie, everybody. But I'm not going to be that person that's going to lead someone by the hand to it. You want to go search and watch TMZ and all that other kind of stuff? Go do it. But I'm not going to lead people to the hand. And it's always about the fans. It's about positivity. And that's one thing we need more of in this world is positivity. And that's all I try to do is just be nice, smile.
I told him you did it right, and that he said, and he was a little bit shocked. He said, "Oh yeah," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, Ed, if you ever do one, man, it's not a bad guy to do because the guy really has a lot of love for you and a lot of love for the equipment, and his son plays like Wolfie plays, and he was impressed by that."
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot as well too. I really appreciate that. Listen, you've overstayed your time, and I don't want to take advantage of that. I never do. I want to thank you, number one, for the hospitality in Windsor. You were kind enough to sign Eric Jr.'s Wolfgang in my strap, which I've got. You probably can't see it, but it's hanging back there.
Who do I owe a strap to? Do I owe your son a strap?
You don't.
Or do I owe you a strap?
You don't owe me anything. No,
I owe you a strap. I owe you a strap signed by the both of us. That's only signed by me, right?
Yes.
I owe you a strap. The guy Liquid Charlie in the UK has a strap signed by the both of us, and I'll get you a strap signed by the both of us.
I appreciate that. You're a great man, and I hope you have a fantastic show tonight. I hope you have a great evening. I can hear the junior's footsteps coming down the stairs, so I'm going to get ready to say I want to thank everyone over in the chat for joining us.
Thank everybody in the chat for joining us. I'll be back, and Eric does an amazing job of keeping the legacy alive and keeping the music alive, and it's music never goes away. I play Van Halen before every show in my dressing room. And I'm thinking about doing a tour next year of a lot of clubs leading to a documentary. And first I had Taking It to the Streets as a title. But after today and listening to a little bit of Van Halen, I think I'm going to call the tour Running with the Devil.
I like it. I love it. That's awesome, George. Thank you so much for your hospitality, your kindness. Support George's foundation out there, and take a look. The link is in the description to your website so that people can follow your tour. If there's a tour date near them, they can come and see you. Lots of dates.
George Lopez, yeah.
Yep, check it out.
And on Instagram, I got a great account, and I always post great pictures.
You do.
As a matter of fact, I'll post a picture here in the next hour of me and Eddie. And we always go to a Laker game, so I'll post a picture of something, either us at the house or one at the Laker game.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, we watch your Instagram like it's like a religion here in the house. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to the end of credits here. Don't go away. I'll say goodbye to you off the air. Everyone over in the chat, have a fantastic, wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great time with your families. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting EVH Gear TV. And thank you for spending time with George Lopez. Stick around, George. Be 2 seconds. Cheers, everyone. I am now on Patreon. If you enjoy my content and wish to support my channel and what I do, then please check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/EVH Gear TV. Your support assures the continued growth of this channel and a fun community in which to share our love for Van Halen, music gear, and much more.